So you want to give spray paint art a try? Good, I'm so glad you're here. Welcome guys, it's Tom Wells here, your spray paint art coach, and I am here to take you through one of the most artistic, creative, beautiful times of your life. I guarantee it. For those of you that don't know me, I'm a full-time artist based in the southwest of England, and I took my little passion for spray paint art and turned it into my full-time career. This is Zero to Hero. It's my complete beginner's guide to spray paint art. I'm looking for you guys with zero skill out there. Or maybe you've already got started, hit a few bumps in the road, and you want to bring it back to basics and brush up on those skills. So why did I make this course? Why am I even here in the first place? I'm completely self-taught. Everything you see from me in this studio, I've just learned by myself. Whilst I was learning, I found there was a lot of random resources dotted out there, but I really struggled to find everything I needed to learn in one place. I also couldn't find any communities dedicated to actually learning this art form, so here you are, now you found it. This is the most comprehensive spray paint art course and community on the internet. Maybe you're a beginner artist in general and you're thinking, there's lots of art forms out there I want to try. Why should I consider spray paint art? I mean, look at all this. Isn't it all just a bit overkill? I promise you, when you start with this medium, you won't be able to stop. Firstly, it's easy to get started. As you will learn in this course, spray paint art is incredibly easy to get going at, and there's a very low barrier to entry. I can get your first painting completed very, very quickly, and it just sparks, you know, that buzz. You are not just learning an art form here, you're discovering a passion. Spray paint art is incredibly fun and really easy going. Let's just say the art world in general has a habit of taking itself way too seriously. Spray paint art is the complete opposite of that. It's totally fantasy based. Anything goes. It's just your imagination can run wild and nobody can tell you that that's wrong. I love that. It means you can just throw out all the core principles of modern art and just enjoy yourself. The spray paint itself is very versatile. There's a wide range of colors to choose from and you can just do so many things with it. And my personal favorite thing about spray paint art is that you learn yourself a little bit of showmanship. Whilst the artwork itself can look absolutely incredible, it's the fast-paced nature of spray paint art, the showmanship, and of course the techniques which kind of wow people and yourself. I've spent countless hours painting on the streets all over the world, and I can tell you from experience that this is an art form society can get behind. They feel connected to it, unlike any other art form out there. And that's the key to real world success that you can achieve with spray paint art. It's one of the best art forms to build an audience and community that knows, likes, and trusts what you do. And if you need proof of that, then well, look at where you are. So let's get started. Level 0. By the end of this course, you will have the tools and knowledge to launch you into the spray paint art world and start your artistic journey. I'm just so excited for you. But don't worry, I won't throw you in at the deep end. This course is broken down into really easy to follow chunks so you can just take it one step at a time. You ready? Let's do this. Welcome to your first module. This is Spray Paint 101. In this module, I'm gonna give you the full rundown on spray paint, what it is, what it does, and how you're gonna create awesome artwork with it. We're gonna dive deep into spray paint so you can get the best understanding of exactly how this works. And then I'm gonna simplify it and just tell you what paint to buy. So what is spray paint? Well, firstly, it's not actually called spray paint officially, it's called aerosol paint. But over time, it's ended up being called spray paint for obvious reasons. So what we have here is a pressurized aluminium can with a mix of paint and a propellant inside of it, which is usually a gas. When you push the cap at the top of the can, it opens up the valve inside, which releases the mix of paint and spray. There are two types of valve that can be found on a can of spray paint, male and female. I don't want to go into the human anatomy side of things, but it's pretty obvious. If it has a little kind of whistle thing sticking out the top like this, that is a male valve. And if it has like a hole in the top like this, that is a female valve. This is important to know later on when you're deciding what caps to buy for your spray paint. Now, one of the most important things is that your paint and propellant inside the can is mixed really well, which is why all cans on the back will encourage you to shake them heavily before using them. Inside of the can, there's either one or two little bearings. These are either glass or steel, and that creates the signature rattling sound inside of the can. So key takeaway number 1, always shake your cans well. Something else that's really important when using spray paint is actually the temperature. These cans are designed to be used at ambient room temperature, but fluctuation in temperature can really affect the way they work. So when it's really hot, the can will actually over pressurize, and you can tell if it's really, really hot, you will like squeeze the can and it'll feel really, really pressurized. The heat also thins the paint out, which makes it come out at a super fine consistency. If you're painting on an overly hot day, it's not the end of the world, but it's when it's cold. That's when you need to pay attention. When the cans get super cold, they depressurize, so you don't get as much pressure coming out the cap, but also the paint becomes a lot thicker. So you end up with like a thick, gloopy consistency, and that is not fun to work with. So takeaway number 2, make sure your cans are at room temperature. You can heat up the room you're spraying in if you're painting indoors, or if you're painting outdoors, I'd recommend getting a bucket of warm water and putting your cans in that warm water for about 10 minutes before you start painting. This will make a huge difference to how well your paint works. Types of paint, I'm going to make this as simple as possible. Effectively, you'll have two main types of paint that you'll find in a can: synthetic and acrylic. Synthetic paints tend to be a bit more thick in nature, they have a high gloss finish and they take a lot longer to dry. Acrylic paints mostly come in a semi-gloss or matte finish and they take less time to dry. When it comes to art grade paint, synthetic paint is usually cheaper than acrylic, but I'd still stick with acrylic. There is also what's known as combis, which are a mix of synthetic and acrylic paint, but don't bog yourself down with the detail. Let's talk about different finishes and some effect paints. I've already alluded to the main finishes, matte, semi-gloss and gloss, but what other finishes and effects can we get? Metallic, chrome, transparent, fluorescent, UV, glitter, marble, crackle, glow in the dark, and even rust are all just to name a few. You can experiment with all the different types of finishes as you progress your journey. Okay, let's talk about pressure. Effectively, there are two types of pressure you can get with spray paint: high pressure and low pressure. The pressure is decided by how pressurized the can is when it's manufactured, meaning that high pressure paints will come out of the can faster than low pressure paints will. I use both pressure types when creating my artwork, but as you're starting out and building your collection of paints, I would recommend keeping it low pressure to start with. Let's talk about some of the brands of spray paint out there. I'm going to split this into two categories: artist paints and store brand paints. Some examples of the art grade brands you'll find out there are like Montana Cans, Flame, Molito, Loop, Cobra, Montana Colors, Dope Cans, Ulster, aka Colors, and then a couple other examples might be Dang and Clash. And then you've got your store brand paints. Now honestly, these massively vary wherever you go, wherever you are in the world. One of the more common brands you'll see is Rust-Oleum. I had to borrow this off someone for this video. But my favourite store brand paints are all the really cheap ones. We'll come back to that later. So which paints are actually best, art grade or store brand? There's a massive misconception that you need to have art grade paints and loads of different colours to get started with spray paint art, and that could not be further from the truth. The reason 99% of spray paint artists end up using an art grade of paint is because it comes with a wider range of colours. And with that big colour range, you can use similar brands together, and that reduces the risk of things like reactions in your painting. And finally, artist grade paints are designed for the arts and crafts industry, whereas store brand paints are often designed for home DIY projects. Look, this has a garden box on it. But it doesn't mean you can't use both, and we're going to come on to that. So where should you buy your spray paint? The first and most convenient place to look is your local hardware store, or there are lots of online vendors as well. However, if you are at day dot, if you are just starting, it's likely that somebody's got some old paint in their garage you can use. So the big question, which paint should you use as a beginner? My answer to this is always simple: the very cheapest you can find. Now I have two good reasons for this. First, it will give you the best value for you to start your new hobby. And second, the cheaper brands typically have a little bit less paint and a bit more propellant in them, and this is good for a couple of reasons. Firstly, it will naturally encourage you to shake your cans well. That is a good habit to get into. This increase in propellant also means that the paint is likely to pool much easier. This is a bad technique in spray paint art and something you want to break the habit of really quickly. So if you get used to spray paint art using cheap, bad paint, you can use anything moving forward. In the UK, I happen to get this paint from a store called Home Bargains, but if you're in the United States, at the time of this recording, I'm sure that Walmart have a store brand paint that's super cheap, a couple bucks a can. I'd also recommend you start off with black and white only. The reason for this is all the techniques in spray paint art you can learn with just black and white, and that saves you having to buy all of these colors off the bat whilst you're getting good. Then you could try just upgrading to a black and white and an art grade brand with minimal risk. These are my go-to paints. You've got Montana Gold, and I still use these store brands today. But the truth is, there's a whole host of different brands and paint types out there. So as you continue your journey to spray paint art greatness, give them all a try and find the right one for you. So you did it. You've taken the first step into your spray paint art journey. Let's freaking get it. If you want to get access to this full course absolutely free, just go to the link in the description to join the Canvas Vandals. Canvas Vandals is my community dedicated to learning spray paint art. You will fit right in. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give the like button a little tickle. In the next video, we're going to be taking a look at spray paint art caps and all the tools and equipment you need to get started super easy. And you'll find that video right here, if it's out.